Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Godzilla the King of the Monsters Part 1. Before we start, please go support Angel Gonzalez 753 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. The world that lives in perfect harmony even with supernatural beings hidden in plain sight, but that harmony will end when monstrous creatures appear around the world putting everyone in danger. But what are these creatures hiding? Well, here we will learn about their origins, but more about Hyoudou Iseei the King of the Monsters. Clarifications. IseeixHarem. Issei is Godzilla. Open different titans of the Mostervers. They were all created by scientific experiments. Not all titans will be bad. Issei is not the sekiryuutei. The story takes place after the fight with Razor. Prologue. Titan. This world is very big, and it is obvious that we are not alone either on our planet or in the universe, but have you ever wondered if monsters exist? Well, the answer is yes. Now you might be wondering how I know this. Well, because I created them. Hahaha, how funny, my greatest creations are monsters. Ironic, right? Maybe now your head is full of questions and doubts, but don't worry, everything has an explanation. My name is Dr. Satomi Murata. Haha, doctor, how could I not be more of a mad scientist? I have always had the ideal that human beings can evolve with the help of science, but everyone laughed at me and believed me to be hopelessly crazy. How right they were. In my desire to provoke my ideal, I began to experiment with the DNA of some creatures, lizards, crabs, octopuses, apes, plants among others. Each one of these samples was given to orphan children that I took from orphanages, but there was no result. The children simply died because they did not adapt to the animal or vegetable DNA, ending up dying. Those that gave the most fruits only showed some changes like green skin or animal instincts, but nothing more. But everything changed when in one of my excursions to Antarctica, I discovered a being from another planet. That thing would be the wettest wish of any alien fanatic, a UFO embedded in the most isolated corner of our planet. From it came out a strange blue liquid that I did not hesitate to take for my research, without knowing that that would be the origin of everything, since I could see that the creature's DNA coupled perfectly to the strange substance. Now it was time for phase 2 to test them on humans. But to my bad luck, all the children were dead. This was not possible. I was so close to achieving my goal. I could not stop now, so I had to make a drastic decision. I kidnapped the children. Approximately 20 children. I separated them from their families, and for months I subjected them to cruel torture. I still hear their voices screaming and crying, begging for mercy, wanting to see their families. But I did not stop. My dream was so close, so I did not stop and continued injecting them with the different substances created. I did not know that this ends so badly. They began to change dramatically, so much so that sanity was slowly lost, and the worst was when they became monsters, gigantic creatures taller than a building. I write this before one of them finds me and kills me for what I did. Please God forgive me for what I did, and if someone finds this, please, the only way to stop them is through themselves. To be more specific, the only one who kept his sanity intact. His name is Issei Hyoudou, or as I call him, Godzilla. Log of Dr. Satomi Murata, date November 20, 2005, found 8 years later in a strange laboratory with various human remains, where it is said that the monsters that are causing destruction in the world were created. Hyoudou City, Japan. We see a brown-haired boy with blue eyes watching the news where a report was shown about some strange creatures filmed around the world, but the most startling was a gigantic being similar to a dinosaur entering the ocean. Issei. That's nothing. Hyoudou residence. We can see a young brunette of approximately 16 years old while she was looking at a photograph in which there were 2 brunette children, unable to help crying when she saw the image in detail. Asara. Brother, wherever you are, I swear I will find you, she said with tears. Dreg. Partner, you know that I support you in everything, but don't you think that you should give up that search? Many years have passed, he said sadly for his carrier. Asara. No, Dreg, I will never rest. I know my brother is alive, and I will find him, she said, while hugging the photograph tightly. What the girl and the dragon didn't notice was that a red-haired girl was watching everything from a door with sadness for her pawn. Riaz. Asara, you can always count on me. The new boy. We see a brown-haired boy in his bed as he moved from side to side, as it seemed like he was having a terrible nightmare that was keeping him from sleeping. Brother, no, please give me back my brother. Satomi. Come on kid, you're the perfect candidate. Issei. No, let me go, please let me go, sister. Satomi. Are you ready, little one, ready to become the evolution of humanity? Issei. Ah, that damn dream again, he said as he got up agitated, realizing he was in a room. The brown-haired boy calmed down a bit and decided to stand up and walk to a window, watching the night landscape that the city of Kuo offered him. Well, many things went through his head that seemed to affect him quite a bit. Issei. No matter where you are, Asara, I will find you. 5 hours later. Hyoudou residence. We can see a young brunette leaving her house with a red-haired girl and a blonde who looked worried about the state of the brunette, who was quite sad and thoughtful, remembering her brother who had been missing for many years. Isara, are you okay? She said curiously, but she knew perfectly well what was happening. Isara. If but you is nothing, she said without importance. Asia. Isara-chan, you're like this because of your brother, she said, trying not to sound reckless. Isara. Yes, I'm sorry, she said with her head down. You don't have to hide it, we know that what happened to your brother still hurts you, she said sadly for her dough. Isara. I just wonder why they took him, she said sadly. In this world there are very bad people who do evil to the world without any fixed reason, she said calmly. Isara. I just hope to see my brother again, she said, lowering her head. Don't worry, you'll see him again one day. Your academy. Classes were about to start as the brunette and the blonde took their places, watching as the teacher came in and took his place, but the strange thing for the girls was that there was an extra seat which confused them quite a bit. Teacher. Okay guys, before we start, I would like to welcome a new classmate, he said calmly, while pointing to the door, while the students showed different reactions. Boys. I hope it's a pretty girl, they said excitedly. Girls. I hope he's a super handsome guy, they said hopefully. While the murmurs continued among the students, the door opened, revealing a medium-tall boy with light skin and brown hair, but what was most attractive were his beautiful blue eyes. He looked at everyone with a calm gaze, but everyone felt an instinct of superiority, especially a certain red empress who did not take her eyes off the brown-haired boy. Teacher. Okay, boy, introduce yourself, he said calmly. Issei. Of course, my name is Tagaka Issei, I come from the city of Fukushima, he said with a calm voice. Girls. Kaya, he's beautiful, they said in unison while the boys cursed him. Teacher. Silence, any questions, he said seriously while several students raised their hands. J&auml. Excuse me, do you have a girlfriend? She said curiously while the girls looked at her quickly. Issei. Not currently, and in a way I'm not interested in having a relationship, but if it happens then I won't refuse, he said calmly while all the girls rejoiced. Mitsuda. Because a princess like you is here, all of you should be locked up without seeing the sunlight so that we can enjoy all the girls, said a bald man seriously while a boy with glasses supported him and the girls looked at them with hatred. Issei. And you, who are the class clown? He said without interest, causing his classmates to laugh. Kiryu. You're a virgin, said a brunette girl with glasses while the whole room was immersed in an awkward silence. Issei. Yes I am, but don't worry, you won't be my first time, I'm sure of that, he said, as if nothing happened. Teacher. Okay, young Togik, take a seat. Thus the classes went on normally while some were surprised by the brown-haired boy's knowledge since, despite the fact that he had just joined, he handled the subjects quite well until recess time, when the brown-haired boy had many proposals from girls who wanted him to go have lunch with them, but he rejected them in the most respectful way possible, since he wanted to be alone. The cult club. Akeno, who is that boy? Said the brunette watching the brown-haired boy leaning against a tree. Akeno. I don't know for sure, I just know that it's new and it's in Isara's classroom because you're interested, she said curiously. Well, it's strange, I don't feel any kind of magic power in him, but when I see him I feel a strange pressure, she said thoughtfully. Isara. Hello Butchu, she said thoughtfully entering the place with an albino loli and her blonde companion. Hey Asada, who's the new boy in your class? She said curiously looking at the girl. Isara. His name is Tagakai. The brunette couldn't speak yet, she couldn't assimilate that this boy looked like her, that he was the same age as her, and the important thing was that he was called the same as her brother, it was too much of a coincidence. Akeno Tagik, and what, she said curiously. Asia. His name is Tagaka Issei, she said nervously, while the three girls opened their eyes in surprise. What really is his name like your brother, she said incredulously looking at the brunette. Isara. Yes, but not only that, but also she couldn't continue because an alarm started to sound and a loudspeaker started to ring throughout the city. Speaker. Seek shelter, this is not a drill, seek shelter spoke while everyone panicked. No, it can't be a kaiju coming here, this can't be, she said extremely nervous. Akeno. Riaz, calm down, we have to find a safe place, she said nervously. Isara. But you, Akeno is right, she said distressed. Asia. Why doesn't it move? She said confused while everyone looked at her without understanding. Kaneko. Asia, who are you talking about, she said confused. Asia. From Togik-san, she said pointing at the boy. All of them, surprised, turned their heads in the direction of the brown-haired boy, who in fact did not move from his place, he even looked quite calm, while all the students near him ran in panic, but he did not care. Riaz. But what the hell are you doing, she said confused. Pranee. Issei. So it's Godzilla. Battle of Lizards. The entire city shook in the deep silence caused by the kaiju that had appeared in the city, while some people who were still exposed panicked, including the Gremory clan, but unlike them, a brown-haired man smiled while looking in one direction. Issei. Let's play Little Zilla, he said amused as he started walking. Isara. But where are you going, she said nervously seeing the brown-haired boy. The Keno. He's crazy because he doesn't look for a shelter, she said confused. Riaz. Let's follow him, she said, leaving the club followed by her 4 servants. Isara. Where did he go? She said confused as they reached the entrance of the academy, seeing how there was no one on the street anymore, only a few people in the distance looking for shelter. Kaneko. How could he disappear out of nowhere? She said confused. Riaz. No human, no matter how fast he is, can disappear like that, she said quite confused. Asia. And if I seek shelter could not continue because some mini tremors occurred. A loud roar came from the opposite direction of the city, and the girls were in shock at what had caused him. Riaz, it's Godzilla, she screamed seeing the powerful lizard arrive in the city. Zilla. Cray, the smaller lizard quickly roared and began to approach. Godzilla. Cray, now the powerful lizard roared imitating his adversary. The girls of the Gremory clan saw how Zilla quickly used his great speed to propel himself, making a great leap using his back to attack Godzilla, who could not react in time as he managed to unbalance the powerful titan. Zilla. You have become weak, he said with grunts that were only understood by the second kaiju. Godzilla. Cry, he roared loudly regaining his balance, spinning hard, landing a tail whip on the other kaiju's face, knocking him down. Riaz. This is incredible, we are witnessing a battle between cages, she said amazed watching the fight. Asia. But you doesn't think we should look for a safe place, she said nervously. Riaz. Wait Asia, this is getting good. While this was happening, Zilla got up and using his great speed, he escaped from the side of Godzilla, who began to wander around trying to find his rival, who seemed to take advantage of his qualities since he hid quite well. Riaz. Godzilla back, I screamed worriedly watching how Zilla took advantage of some small buildings to gain height and use his great jump to attack Godzilla again, who couldn't do anything being taken to the ground by the other lizard. Zilla quickly got back up and then went behind a building that was next to Godzilla and began to hit him until he finally gave in, making him fall on top of him. Riaz. No Godzilla, she said worriedly seeing the whole building above her. Isara. Come on big guy, stand up, you can't be defeated like that, she said distressed since she didn't know why, but seeing him like that caused her pain in her chest. Kaneko. Boo but you, I think we should go, she said nervously, while the 5 of them turned their heads, somewhat scared, seeing how Zilla looked at them carefully and then began to move in their direction. The Keno. We have to go now, she screamed euphorically as the creature came closer and closer. Asia. Come on but you, don't stay there, we have to go, she said worriedly, while her king remained motionless. The Keno. Riaz, please react, she said nervously seeing how the kaiju was getting closer. Isara. But you reacted, she couldn't continue because Zilla jumped slightly while opening his mouth with the intention of devouring them. They all saw how Zilla fell crashing against the ground, confusing the girls who could not understand how Zilla failed in his jump, but their doubts were resolved when they saw how Godzilla was behind him holding him by his tail with some debris still on top of him. Riaz. Yes, he is alive, she screamed excitedly. Godzilla. And you are still very confident, he said with his few grunts and then used his strength and with great momentum throwing him against a mountain. Riaz. Come on Godzilla, finish it with your atomic breath, excited scream. Godzilla looked at where Zilla was, who was quite hurt trying to get up, but Godzilla did not waste time as his back began to light up, while Riaz got more and more excited when she saw how the powerful kaiju launched a powerful ray from his mouth. Isara. But you Godzilla listened to her, she said incredulously. Riaz. I don't know, she said confused. Godzilla just watched as only the remains of Zilla remained after the powerful attack, and then he began to walk out of the city and behind a mountain, losing sight of the girls who just looked on in astonishment at what had happened. The Keno. I can't believe it, we're fine, she said relieved. Kaneko. We saw a fight between cages, she said surprised. Asia. But if it hadn't been for Godzilla we would be dead, she said still with some fear. Riaz. It's true, Godzilla was the one who saved us, he said with a big smile. Isara. What will Godzilla do now? All the girls returned to their club to fully assimilate everything that had just happened. A few kilometers away from the city, a giant lizard began to decrease in size and eventually became a brown-haired boy with some wounds. Issei. So you also took the wrong path, Richard, he said lying on the floor. Sir. Hey boy, do you need help? Said an elderly man walking by. Issei. If you could lend me some pants. What about him? We can see a large place where many important people were gathered and who had just witnessed the fight that took place in Japan between the 2 lizards. The USA. We must act quickly, these things are becoming more and more present in the world, said the man quite seriously. The France. But since none of our weapons harm them and nuclear weapons are not an option, he said seriously. The China. Well, what do you think we should do? He said seriously. The Venezuela. Then we should just sit back and do nothing while these things slowly destroy our world, and that's it, he said seriously. The Japan. Let's not be so sure about that, he said seriously. The India. You have an idea, he said seriously. The Japan. Maybe, but I need all nations to unite, put our personal problems aside and work together for this great project that the greatest scientists of my country have created, he said seriously. The Mexico. And what would that project be? He said curiously while everyone looked at the Japanese president. The Japan, the Jaeger project. Ideals. We can see the brown-haired boy walking calmly through the streets of Ku in clothes that were quite uncomfortable for him, but he had nothing to complain about, since it was the best he could get thanks to the help of the man who found him after his battle with Zilla, but now he came to an alley taking a box next to some garbage cans. Issei. Good thing nothing happened to him, he said, taking out his uniform and school things. Hey, you're the new kid, Togek-san, said a voice behind him. Issei. Hey, excuse me, do you know me? He said, turning around, looking at a girl with brown eyes and extremely light brown hair, wearing the academy uniform. Sorry, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Cadre, she said, bowing slightly. Issei. So now I remember you, we're in the same room, he said calmly. Cadre. It's correct how you left the academy so quickly and how you changed so quickly, she said curiously. Issei. Well, I left school taking advantage of the panic caused by the appearance of the cages, he said nervously. Cadre. Cages, meaning there were more than two, he said in shock, making the brown-haired boy more nervous. Issei. Yes, I don't know one, but the other was Godzilla, who fought against him and defeated him, he said, trying to sound calm. Cadre. Godzilla was here, it can't be, I couldn't see it, she said, pouting. Issei. You like Godzilla, he said curiously. Cadre. If it is that, it is great, not only is he one of the greatest beings on record, but he is different, he said with admiration. Issei. Different in the sense that he is a monster, he said a little sadly, remembering how most people see him. Cadre. Of course not, he is a guardian, he is a being that protects us, obviously a fight between beings of such size causes destruction everywhere, but it is a sacrifice that people must understand, he is good and I don't know, maybe there are other good cages like him, she said thoughtfully. Issei. It seems that you are really fascinated, he said curiously. Cadre. Well, a little bit, I even make some drawings of him, she said somewhat embarrassed. Issei. Really, would you show them to me? He said curiously. Cadre. Yeah, sure, she said happily as she took out a notebook. Issei. Wow, she's the second girl who shows me appreciation. First, that red-haired girl that I saved with her friends from being Zilla's dinner. Now, this girl. I think maybe there are people worth protecting, he thought while the girl showed him a couple of sheets with drawings of Godzilla. Cadre. I know they are not the best, but I try to do my best, she said somewhat blushing. Issei. You're wrong, they're amazing, he said sincerely. Cadre. Do you really believe that? She said surprised. Issei. Of course, if he could reason with humans, he would be fascinated with this tribute, he said happily. Cadre. I'm just trying to make people see cages in a different way, he said, putting away his notebook. Issei. I hope it happens someday. Don't you dare say that. We can see all the presidents of the world in complete astonishment after hearing what the sovereign of Japan just said as an idea to stop end the threat of the cages, that for everyone was complete madness. The Francia. You're serious, this is complete madness, said the man incredulously. The Japan. I know it's risky, but it's our only option to stop these things. Conventional weapons don't harm them, and nuclear weapons are not an option, he said seriously. The India. But the idea of creating giant robots to fight with them, there is something I don't like about all this, he said seriously. The Japan. I know it's not what you expected and I understand it, but the program is effective, and with the union of all the countries the creation of the Jaegers will not last so long, he said seriously. The USA. And how are you so sure it won't take that long, he said seriously. The Japan. Because as I said, it is a program that we have been developing for months, and we have had failures due to the lack of raw materials and the little space to develop the parts of the Jaeger, since we could not even establish a neural link between two people who can handle the robot, since the neural load is too much for a single person, he said seriously. The Russia. So that's why you want to count on our help, we can create the raw material to finish all the parts, right? He said seriously. The Japan. That's correct, but not only that, if you decide to help us, we can have a larger range of people to be able to be Jaeger pilots, he said seriously. The Mexico. So how long is the estimate to have at least one Jaeger, he said seriously. The Japan. It would be an estimate of 4 to 5 months, he said seriously. The USA. With all that said, those who are in favor of the Uyghur project raise your hand, he said seriously, while everyone began to raise their hands, showing that even though it was crazy, it was the most feasible for the threat. The Russia. I think it is unanimous that we will all collaborate to create the Uyghurs, he said seriously. The Japan to fight monsters, we will create our own monsters. 1 week later. Gu City. Things have been pretty calm in the city, obviously restoring the damage caused by the fierce battle that took place between the two lizards. During that period of time, the chestnut has had fairly peaceful days, except for the fact that sometimes he was observed by Riaz and his entourage, which made him uncomfortable. Hadis. Togik-san, something is wrong, she said curiously, seeing the brown-haired boy's disgusted face. Issei. If that group of girls doesn't stop seeing me every day that passes, he said somewhat annoyed, pointing at the Redite and her group. Hadis. Oh, I've never seen Riaz-senpai show a great interest in a student. After all, she has the prince of the academy in her club, she said curiously. Issei. I'm not interested in his club, but it bothers me that he's always watching me. By the way, what are the others' names? He said curiously. Hadis. Well, the big-bodied brunette is Akeno Himejima, and together with Riaz they are the one-samas of the academy. The little one is Kaneko Taojo, the school mascot. The other two should already know that they are in the same class as us. They are Asia Argento and Isara Hayu. Could not continue because Issei spoke in an upset manner. Issei. Isara said you said Isara, he said upset. Betise. Yes, that's what I said, Togik-san, something's wrong, she said confused. Issei. Could it be that you are your sister? Family meeting. We see a brown-haired boy with his eyes wide open after hearing the name of that girl who, along with another group of girls who kept watching him, couldn't believe that that girl could be his sister, the person he has been looking for years. Hadis. Togik-san, are you okay, she said worried when she saw the brown-haired boy's condition. Issei. Sorry, I have to go, he said, getting up in a hurry and starting to run to the occult club. Hadis. What's the deal? The cult club. We can see the Redite's entire entourage sitting talking about what has happened lately regarding the kaiju issue, and most importantly the fact that the gigantic lizard listened to the Redite when it was time to attack. Giba. So what they say is serious. Godzilla used atomic breath seconds after Butchu asked him to, he said amazed. Isara. We're serious. Godzilla looked like he was going to keep fighting, but Butchu said about the atomic breath and he listened to her, he said calmly. Riaz. I still can't believe that happened. Did he understand me or did he just want to see if his enemy could continue or what? She said confused. Akeno. Whatever, the important thing is that he was here to help us, making us understand that they are good, as Serzich-sama said, she said happily. Riaz. I think you're right. She couldn't continue because Issei entered quickly, pushing the door with force. Giba. Hey, what's wrong? He said seriously while the others looked at the boy in surprise. Issei. Your name is Isara, he said seriously looking at the brunette. Isara. Huh? She said confused. Issei. Your name is Isara and you have lived in this city since you were born, he said seriously. Isara. Yes, my name is Isara and I have always lived here because, she said nervously. Issei. I found you, he said with a few small tears, quickly hugging the brunette. Riaz. Hey, what's wrong? She said confused by the brown-haired boy's sudden action. Issei. Isara, it's me Issei, your brother, he said with tears. Isara. So it's you, Nai-san. Entrance of the academy. We see a pair of black-haired women at the door, coming face to face with some headed women who looked quite serious, just like the black-haired women, sensing the sacred power in them. Sona. What do you want? She said seriously. We are looking for the heiresses Citri and Gremory who own this territory, she said seriously. Sona. I am the Citri heiress that you need, she said more seriously. We need to talk to both of you, she said seriously. Sona. If that is the case, they will have to come after school hours since they cannot enter the school now, she said seriously. It seems fine to me. We will come back later. With your permission, we will leave, said the person leaving with his companion, leaving the two black-haired girls quite serious. Tsubaki. What's wrong, Sona, she said seriously. Sona. I don't know, but this gives me a bad feeling. The cult club. The entire clan was in shock after what had just happened. They couldn't believe that the boy was their partner's brother, the boy she was looking for so desperately. Isara nice and sniff nice, and the brunette cried, hugging the boy tightly. Issei. I can't believe it, after so much time I was able to find you, he said with tears. Riaz. You really are Issei Hyoudou, she said impressed. Issei. Abu sorry, we haven't been introduced, he said nervously. Riaz. It's true, a pleasure, my name is Riaz Gremory, a pleasure, and they are my dear Ken. I don't continue because Issei spoke. Issei. No, don't get ahead of yourself. They've already told me their names, Akeno Himejima, Asia Argento, Kaneko Taojo, and the truth is that they didn't even tell me your name, he said, embarrassed, looking at the boy. Kiba. My name is Hyoudou, he said, still not understanding the situation as such. Issei. Well, nice to meet you. You should already know my name. And in answer to your question, Miss Gremory, I am Isara's brother, he said happily, looking at the brunette. Isara. Issei, we should go home, my parents will be very happy to see you again, she said with great happiness, wiping away her tears. Issei. I'm sorry but I can't go with them, he said lowering his head. Isara. Why not, she said confused. Issei. Because I don't remember them, he said looking away. Isara. What do you mean you don't remember them? She said, leaving everyone in shock. Issei. Isara, I don't know how to say it, he said sadly. Isara. Nice, and what's wrong, can you tell me anything, she said worried about her brother. Issei. When they separated me from you it was to do experiments on me, and part of those experiments made me lose my memory. I don't remember many things. The only thing I remember before the experiments was that moment in the park when they separated us, he said sadly. Isara. What screamed in shock upon seeing her brother's sadness. Riaz. What a ruthless being could do what they did to you. She said sadly. Issei. I prefer not to tell it, he said looking away. Akeno. It was so horrible, she said with some sadness. Issei. It was horrible, it was hell, the screams of others echoed throughout the place, and when you didn't hear them, it was because you were the one who produced them, all the time, it was like that, it never stopped, he said with terror in his voice while trembling, leaving the entire Gremory entourage in disbelief. Isara. Calm down, nothing bad is going to happen to you anymore, now we are together, that is the only thing that matters, she said while hugging her brother, trying to calm him down. Kiba. You went through something similar to me, he thought seriously watching how the brown-haired boy calmed down little by little. Riaz. Issei, Isara is right, that's already over, you won't suffer again, and the best thing is that now you're with your sister, you don't know how much she suffered because of your absence, she said in a sweet tone. Issei. I also suffered from not seeing her, he said calmer, giving his sister a small smile. Asia. We better go, classes are about to start again, she said looking at her watch. Issei. Yes, I think it's best, we shouldn't neglect our studies, he said calmly walking to the door. Riaz. Issei, and don't worry now, you are welcome in the club, she said happily. Issei. Thank you very much Gremory senpai, he said calmly. Isara. But why don't you join it, she said curiously. Issei. Join your club, he said curiously. Isara. Not to his entourage, she said curiously. Issei. Sakito, what are you talking about? He said without understanding. Riaz. Isara, wait, she couldn't continue because the brunette got there first. Isara. We are demons, she said seriously. Issei. What the hell? Kusowers. We see a large cave beneath the ground of Ku where the city's drainage used to be, but now there was only rubble and fire, where it seemed that a strange creature had been there, but now there was only an egg that was slowly opening. Envoys of the church. Everything fell silent after what had been said moments before as Isara revealed what they were to her brother, who remained incredulous, and the rest of the club was extremely nervous about what had happened. Riaz. No, don't pay attention to him, Issei, she said nervously. Issei. Miss Gremory, from the way you speak I know you're lying, so please tell me what she said is true, you are demons, he said seriously. Riaz. Well yes it's true, we are demons, she said resignedly, taking out her wings like the rest of her group. Akeno. Ara, you don't seem surprised, she said curiously looking at the brown-haired boy with a raised eyebrow, looking at the demonic wings. Issei. Sorry Himejima-san, but how do you expect me to be surprised when there are giant creatures outside destroying the planet, or a giant lizard that fights with them and spits fire from its mouth, he said, with quite a bit of irony. Kaneko. That makes a lot of sense, she said thoughtfully. Issei. Now a quick question, how did you guys turn my sister into a demon? He said with a dark look. Isara. Well, that happened when a fallen angel tried to kill me, she said timidly. Issei. What, who was the bastard? Furious shout. Riaz. It was a fallen angel named Donaseek, he and another group of fallen angels were in the city and tried to kill Isara and Asia, and I saved his life, but I had to reincarnate them into demons, she said somewhat nervously. Issei. I see, Miss Gremory, you have many things to explain to me about the supernatural world, but I must also thank you, he said calmly. Riaz. Thank you because, she said confused like the others. Issei. For saving my sister, he said calmly, leaving the club. Riaz. You're welcome. 3 hours later. We can see the two brothers leaving school happily talking about their tastes and the things they have experienced throughout all this time, while they walked back to the club with Asia being watched by Riaz, who looked at her pawn's happiness at recovering her brother. Issei. So you have a dragon sealed inside you, he said, curious but at the same time impressed. Isara. That's right, I'll introduce him to you. Greetings from Drake, she said happily, making a red glove with a green sphere appear on her left hand. Drake. Nice to meet you, Issei. You don't know how much my partner has suffered because of your absence, said the dragon's voice from the gem. Issei. Nice to meet you, Red Emperor Dragon Drake. I said it right, he said curiously looking at his sister. Isara. More or less, she said with a mocking smile. He is. I see you already showed him your sacred gear, she said curiously. Issei. If you explain a little about those strange artifacts and which one you have, he said calmly. He is. I'm glad, well Issei, ready to learn about the supernatural, she said calmly. Issei. Of course, he said happily. He is. Well, first things first, she couldn't continue because Sona and Tsubaki entered with the rest of the Retid clan. Sona, Riaz, we have to talk, she said seriously. Riaz. What's wrong, Sona, she said seriously. Sona. Well, in a few minutes a man voice from the church will come, and what is the new student doing here? She said curiously, looking at Issei, who remained calm, watching. Riaz. Well, Issei is a new member of the occult club. Issei, she is Sona Citri, a high-class devil like me, and president of the student council, she said calmly. Issei. Nice to meet you, Sona Kaichu, he said, greeting her very politely. Sona. I see, although it is strange, I don't feel any demonic presence in him, she said curiously. Riaz. I told you that he is a member of the club, but not that he was part of my nobility, she said calmly, while the brunette opened her eyes in shock. Sona. What, they're not part of your entree and yet you told them about us, incredulous scream. Riaz. Well, more than telling him, it was a small oversight, but he already knows, but don't worry, he won't say anything, and he's Isara's brother, she said calmly. Sona. But they don't even have the same last name, she said with a twitch in her eye. Isara. It's a long story, Kaichu, she said nervously. Sona puff, if he already knows and promised not to say anything, I don't see a problem with it, she said heavily. Riaz. Great, well tell me who's coming, she said curiously. Sona. They are two envoys from the church. She couldn't continue because her entourage arrived with two hooded women. Saji Kaichu, here they are, said a blonde man seriously. Sona. It's them, she said seriously. Riaz. A pleasure, that's what you want, she said curiously looking at the hooded girls who uncovered their faces, revealing a couple of girls, a brunette with violet eyes and a blue-haired girl with yellow eyes. Nice to meet you, Gremory and Citri heiresses. We have come to your territory to recover the Excalibur swords that were stolen by a fallen angel, said the blue-haired girl seriously, while a blonde girl tensed up at the mention of the word Excalibur. Riaz. I see, and they only come to inform us of their activity in our territory, or is there something else, she said curiously. If there is something else, we do not want them to interfere in our affairs. We know very well that demons are not to be trusted, he said seriously, bothering some people with his comment. Riaz. I see, you have nothing to worry about. Neither me nor Sona will do anything, but I would like to ask which fallen angel is behind this, she said seriously. The Cacabial Cadre, he said seriously. Riaz. I see, thanks for the information, she said seriously. I see, that would be all, with your permission we leave, she said standing up next to her partner and walking to the door, but the blue-haired girl stopped looking at Asia. Is something wrong, Zenobia, said the curious brunette. Zenobia. You are the witch Asia Argento, right? The one who cured a demon even when you were in the church, right? She said looking at the blonde who felt bad about the comment. Asia. Well, I couldn't continue because Zenobia spoke. Zenobia. Tell me, do you still believe in God? She said seriously. Asia. Of course, even though he's a demon now, I still believe in him, she said determinedly. Zenobia. If you still believe in him, you will let me take your life to purify your sins, he said, taking out a somewhat large sword pointing at the girl. Isara. I won't let you hurt Asia, she said, summoning her gauntlet and standing between the two. Zenobia. Oh wow, but if it's the powerful sekiryuutei, I didn't think you were a woman, but it doesn't matter, it seems that you have guts, she said, bringing her sword closer. Issei. You better watch what you do, miss, he said seriously, showing a rather aggressive instinct. Zenobia. Wow, another demon with courage, she said looking at the brown-haired boy, getting a little confused when she saw how the boy's eyes changed to those of a reptile. Riaz. Issei, Isara, please calm down, we don't need problems with the church, she said seriously. But you are Issei and Isara, said the incredulous brunette. Isara. That's because you ask, she said curiously. Well, because I'm Irina Shidu, her childhood friend, she said happily. Isara, what are you, Irina, incredulous scream. Irina. Yes, it's exciting to see them again, but Issei, what's wrong? Aren't you happy to see me? She said curiously, pretending sadness. Issei. I'm sorry but I don't know who you are, he said seriously. Irina. What I say, please don't play, it's not funny, she said with sadness and a pain in her chest. Isara. No, Irina is not playing. A lot of things happened during the time you were gone and well, Issei lost his memory, she said sadly. Irina. That he lost his memory, she said in shock. Zenobia. I don't care about that, all I want is to test the power of the current sekiryuutei, she said seriously. Isara. You want to fight, that's fine, I'll do it. What is Issei hiding? The Gremory clan and the Citri clan had gone out to the back of the club, watching as the church envoys looked seriously at Issei's sister, who remained somewhat upset by the treatment that the blue-haired girl showed towards Asia, who remained with a sad expression. Zenobia. Are you sure you can handle us too? She said seriously, showing a somewhat large sword. Irina. I don't want to hurt you, she said nervously while showing a sword similar to a katana. Kiba. She won't fight alone, he said seriously, creating a sword. Isara. Kiba-kun, she said impressed. Zenobia. Whatever you want, the result will be the same, she said seriously. Riaz. If the four of you are ready, let's begin, she said seriously. Quickly the four of them moved from their places and began to clash weapons. Irina versus Kiba and Zenobia versus Isara, who did not hesitate to begin attacking the blue-haired girl with everything she had, who was a little surprised by the speed and strength of her opponent. Zenobia. Not bad, sekiryuutei. I'm surprised you already have a more or less decent level, she said seriously, trying to cut the brunette off. Isara. You haven't seen anything yet, she said seriously, blocking a cut with her gauntlet, using her other arm to connect a blow to the blue-haired boy's face. Issei. It's good, she said seriously. Riaz. She always tries hard, whether it's training, studying, or everything, no matter what it is, she will give her best, and in part she owes this to you, she said happily, while the brown-haired boy looked at her surprised. Issei. Me, he said curiously. Riaz. If she never rested, there was not a day in which she did not look for you, she even lost hours of sleep looking for something, a clue to find you, that dedication she put daily with you made everything she did it giving her best, she said calmly, watching the fight. While they continued watching the fight, the combatants continued with their conflicts, and the closest fight was between Kiba and Irina, who both did not seem to show any advantage, but it was obvious that the blonde was more frenetic. Irina. Hey, you know that if you keep fighting like that you will lose, you see what they say, the one who gets angry loses, she said calmly. Kiba. Shut up, I don't need advice from people like you, he said seriously, launching into the attack without realizing that in the movement he lowered his guard. Irina. Too bad, but you lost, she said, moving a little to her side and making a small cut. Kiba. You didn't do anything to me, he couldn't continue because he felt a strong pain in his chest. Isara. Kiba-kun, she said alarmed. Zenobia. Don't get distracted, he said, taking her by surprise, giving her a somewhat large cut on her arm. Issei. Isara screamed alarmed as he watched his sister fall to the ground. Zenobia. You let your guard down, sekiryuutei, and that was your doom. Sacred energy is deadly to demons. She said seriously as she raised her sword ready to launch another attack. Riaz. Wait, she screamed in alarm, watching how the blue-haired girl launched the attack downwards at a brunette who couldn't react. Issei. It was enough, angry shout appearing between the two, stopping the sword with his bare hands, leaving everyone in shock. Zenobia. How did you do that? She said incredulously, watching how the boy squeezed the sword tightly, showing his reptilian eyes again. Issei. Don't try something as stupid as attacking my sister again. You heard that, next time I'll act and you won't like it, he said with a very serious look. Zenobia. Oh okay, she said, a little nervous because of the brown-haired boy's disturbing look. Issei. You better, he said, dropping the sword, making it fall to the ground, while Laridid watched as the brown-haired boy's hand, to be exact the part that held the sword, had a grayish color and his nails became somewhat sharp. Zenobia. Irina, I think it's time for us to go, she said, calming down and starting to walk, followed by the brunette. Irina. It's okay, see you later, IseeixHarem, she said nervously, quickening her pace. Issei. Isara, are you okay, he said, looking at his sister. Isara. Yes, nice, and I'm fine, boo, but how did you do that, she said confused. Issei. I don't know, I don't understand what happened to me. I just felt like I had to help you, and I don't know how the hell I did it, he said confused. Isara. But your arm is fine, nothing happened to it, she said distressed. Issei. Look, nothing happened to me, he said, showing his hand without any wounds. Isara. That's possible, she said confused. Issei. Maybe she just threatened to attack you, maybe she wasn't even going to hurt you, he said with a smile that didn't leave everyone very convinced of what had just happened. Riaz. Okay Asia, please help Kiba and Isara, she said calmly, while the blonde nodded. Issei. With what just happened, I think I'll go home so you can do your supernatural activities, he said calmly as he began to walk. Isara. See you tomorrow, nice, and she said happily, while the brown-haired boy said goodbye, waving his arm. Issei. They must not know what I am. 4 hours later. Go church. We can see the two church emissaries taking a bath together to relax a bit after what happened during the day, but the blue-haired girl remained quite serious, looking closely at her sword. Irina. Zenobia, leave your sword, we're relaxing, said the brunette looking at the blue-haired girl. Zenobia. No Irina, this is not normal, she said seriously. Irina. What are you talking about? She said confused. Zenobia. That boy, the sekiryuutei's brother, he managed to crack my sword, she said seriously, showing her sword to the brunette right in the area where the brunette held it, seeing that it had several cracks. Irina. This is incredible, but how is it possible? Issei did not show any kind of demonic energy or any other kind, he looks like an ordinary human, she said incredulously. Zenobia. That boy is not normal, and whatever it is I will find out. The cult club. We see Eureka and a brunette who were talking calmly, although it was obvious that something was bothering Riaz, and it was not difficult for her queen to notice this state on the part of her king. The Keno. Come on, tell me what's wrong, she said curiously. Riaz. What are you talking about? Nothing is wrong with me, she said while sipping some tea. The Keno. Yes, of course, and I am an angel, and Godzilla is just a dinosaur. Don't laugh. Something is wrong with you. I know you very well and I know when something is bothering you. Riaz. Well, it's about Issei, she said a little nervously. The Keno. Ah, I see, don't tell me you like it, she said with a mocking smile. Riaz. Of course I don't admit that he's very happy, but it's not that, he said blushing. The Keno. Then what is it? She said curiously. Riaz. Well, during the battle when he intervened he moved at high speed for a human, that would be impossible. Also when he stopped the sword with his hand, it took a strange shape, she said thoughtfully. The Keno. Strange, what do you mean? She said confused. Riaz. It was grey with somewhat long nails that resembled those of a lizard, and its skin looked like that of a reptile, she said seriously. The Keno. A reptile, she said confused. Riaz. Yes, and whatever he's hiding, I'll find out. Go departments. We can see a chestnut tree contemplating the night sky and the beautiful view that the city of Kuo offered at night, remembering everything that had happened. Issei. Today I drew too much attention, I have to be more careful, he said seriously while drinking some water. A roar that was heard in the distance caught the attention of the brown-haired boy, who sharpened his gaze, looking at the entire city carefully. Issei. So you had a son, Zilla. A new enemy or a new friend? It's been a little over a month since the visit of the church's envoys to the demons. During that time Riaz and Akeno have been investigating Issei, trying to find some clue of what the Redeed saw during the battle. It should also be noted that the girls were very surprised to see that the brown-haired boy went out at night, wandering the night streets of Ku, as if looking for something, while during the day he spent most of his time with his sister, making up for lost time. Isara. Hello Butchu, said the brown-haired girl entering the club. Riaz. Hello Isara, she said with a somewhat serious tone of voice. Isara. Butchu, something is wrong, she said curiously. Riaz. Well Isara, what's happening? I don't know how to say it. Haven't you seen anything strange when you're with Issei? She said curiously. Isara. No Butchu at all, because she thinks he might have a sacred gear or something like that, she said curiously. Riaz. I'm not sure, more or less, but it doesn't matter. I'll find out later. Hey, you don't know anything about Kiba, she said a little sadly. Isara. Not since what happened with the church messengers has he distanced himself from the group, she said sadly. Riaz. We have to talk to him because he is doing this, she said seriously. Isara. Of course Butchu. Who streets? We can see in the darkness of the night a young blonde man with a cold look walking through the city while hearing many noises everywhere, putting him on alert, summoning a sword. Kiba. Whoever you are, get out of wherever you are, he said seriously while pointing with his sword. Zenobia. It seems that you are following us, said the blue-haired girl appearing next to the brunette while the albino sharpened his gaze. Kiba. So it's you guys, he said seriously. Zenobia. Could you tell us why you've been following us, or rather why you've been following us, he said seriously, slashing with his sword, breaking a post, revealing the brown-haired boy. Irina. Issei said surprised, as did the blonde, while the brown-haired boy didn't even look at them, looking to the side. Zenobia. Well, they'll give us an explanation, or they lacked crazy saying that they weren't following us. She couldn't continue because the brown-haired boy spoke. Issei. Shut up, he said in a serious voice. Zenobia. And who do you think you are to tell me that I'm F? She couldn't continue because a noise interrupted her. A loud roar caught the attention of the four, and seconds later a lizard about 4 meters high and about 6 meters long left. Irina. Boo, but what the heck is that, she said terrified. Issei. TSK, I didn't think it would be this size already. I have to get it out of the city, he thought seriously. Zenobia. I think it's a kaiju, but baby, she said seriously. Irina. Kaijus can reproduce, she said incredulously. Issei. Run, he said seriously while the girls and the blonde did not last a second before starting to run. Zilij the lizard was able to detect them and began to chase them. Issei. Hey, you follow me, he said seriously while changing direction, catching the attention of the mini kaiju. Arena. No, Issei screamed worried about the brown-haired boy. Zenobia. We can't do anything, we don't know if our swords can hurt him, she said seriously while the brunette felt more worried. Issei. Damn, if I don't get out of their side I won't be able to use my speed to get it out, he said nervously. Isara. Nai-sama screamed appearing with her wings spread out, catching the boy. Issei Isara, she said curiously. Rias. But what the heck is that thing? She said seriously flying over the place with Akeno and Kaneko. Issei. I think it's a big lizard, she said curiously. Kaneko. But that thing looks like the kaiju that killed Godzilla, she said seriously while Rias and the others analyzed that thing. Issei. It's probably a kid, he said seriously. Rias. So that kaiju reproduced, she said incredulously. Akeno. But if that's the case this is the only one or maybe there are more, she said nervously. Issei. I couldn't say that, but if it's a kid, we can make it follow us, he said seriously. Isara Nai-sama, you are crazy, she said incredulously. Issei. The only thing I'm trying to do is get that thing out of the city so it doesn't cause so much damage, he said seriously. Rias. Issei is right, we must prevent it from destroying the city by walking, she said while the four of them descended to a height somewhat close to the ground while the creature began to run against them. Issei. Come on little one, we have a very delicious flavor, he said seriously while the four girls flew with great speed. With great flying techniques the four girls managed to get the creature out of the city, taking it to a forest where with the help of the woods, they managed to hide, seeing how the small creature seemed confused and disoriented so that seconds later it lay down beginning to fall asleep. Rias. It's not bad, she said confused. Issei. This could say that he is a child, he still does not know how to differentiate between good and evil, he is not like his mother or father, he said seriously. Isara. Do you think this little one could be like Godzilla? I mean, he could be good and help protect the world. She said thoughtfully. Issei. Only time will tell. 2 days later. Days have passed since the meeting between Zilla Jr. Since that day, Issei has gone to visit the little lizard who seemed confused by his surroundings but seemed to appreciate the place and did not seem to be aggressive, but now everyone was gathered in the occult club. Rias. Okay guys, your contracts for this week, she couldn't continue because a magic circle appeared in her ear. Akeno. Rias, something's wrong, she said curiously seeing her king's serious face. Rias. If it sounds like it, don't worry, we'll go there, she said seriously. Isara. But what's wrong? Something's bad, she said distressed. Rias. Sona and her group found Arena seriously injured, she said seriously leaving everyone surprised. Isara. This can't be what happened to him, she said worried. Rias. I don't know but we should go, she said seriously. Issei would like to accompany them, he said seriously. Isara Nai-sama, are you sure it could be very dangerous? Issei. Don't worry, if things get complicated I'll leave the place, he said calmly. Rias. Okay, let's go. The 6 of them were transported to a place far from the club, watching Sona take care of a badly injured Arena while the other members of Sona's group looked around the place. Isara. Arena screams worriedly running to see her. Sona. She is very hurt, we don't know what happened to her, she said seriously. Rias. Where is your partner? She said seriously. Sona. I don't know. I sent my relative to look for her, but I haven't had a response, she said seriously. Issei. I wonder who the bastard was that could do this to him, he said seriously. I think the person you're looking for is me, said a voice from above. Everyone quickly stood on guard, looking up and opening their eyes in surprise to see a man with white skin and red eyes with a psychopathic look, but what stood out the most was that he had a large number of black wings. Rias. Sona Kakabiel. The battle against Kakabiel. The Gremory and Citri entourages along with Issei looked seriously and somewhat fearfully at the Kakabiel cadre, who remained static in the air with an arrogant smile and very confident, but before anyone could speak Issei stepped forward. Issei. Damn you unhappy because you did this to Arena, he said seriously. Kakabiel. Oh, a very brave human, tell me what gives you so much courage, he said with pride. Issei. That doesn't matter to you, stupid crow, answer my question, he said very angry. Kakabiel. Well, very easy, I needed her sword to carry out my great plan, sadly she didn't want to give it to me for good, he said seriously. Rias. And what is that great plan of yours, she said seriously. Kakabiel. Well, it's very easy, Gremory heiress. My plan is to start a new holy war, he said it madly. Sona. You must be crazy, you know how many people could lose their lives and all the problems that could cause to the 3 biblical factions, she said completely incredulously. Rias. Besides, the fallen angels could become extinct since they are the smallest race of the three. Don't you care about your people? She said seriously. The Cabal. Of course not, the only thing I want is for war, blood and death to break out once again, he said, completely deranged. Isara. We won't let you get away with this, she said angrily. The Cabal. That remains to be seen. I'll be waiting for the great Mao Lucifer or the Mao Leviathan. We'll see each other there, he said seriously while pointing at the academy. Sona. You're completely crazy, she screamed excitedly as she watched the cadre disappear. Riaz. I wasn't joking, she said seriously. Sona. Riaz, how are we going to do this? If my sister or your brother comes, war will break out, she said seriously. Riaz. We have no other choice, we must stop him, she said distressed. Sona, if we have no other option, we have to do it, she said seriously. Isara. What will happen to Arena? She said nervously. Sona. We will help her Tsubaki take her to the special room, and as soon as you do we will see you at school, she said seriously while her queen nodded. Riaz. We will face Kakabeel. Sona, you make a barrier to hold him back and ensure that nothing that happens at school is seen by humans, she said seriously. Isara. Nai-san, you understand right? She said a little nervously, seeing her brother a little worried. Issei. Sure, don't worry, go and defeat that bastard, he said with a calm smile. Riaz. Well, it's time to go. After what was said, the two entourages disappeared, leaving a brunette with a serious look looking at the academy, so that seconds later he disappeared from sight, leaving the place completely empty. Your academy. We can see the two entourages at the entrance of the academy where the Citri stayed at the entrance beginning to create a barrier, while the Gremory clan began to enter the place, clearly nervous since their rival was not someone easy to defeat. Riaz. Come on girls, if we fight with everything we can win, we don't have to doubt, she said with determination. Girls. Yes but you, they said determined. The Cabal. Oh, but the little Gremory is the first to appear, and tell me who of the two will come, will it be Sirzich or will it be Serafal, he said seriously. Riaz. Neither of us will defeat you, she said seriously. The Cabal. You guys don't make me laugh, the only thing you'll get is death, he said seriously, while a portal opened in the ground from which three dogs with three heads came out. Riaz. Cerbera said seriously looking at the three beasts. Freed. Don't forget about us, he said seriously next to a priest. Asia. Freed, she said scared remembering what she experienced. The Cabal. I think that you, Gremory heiress, would reconsider the fact of not speaking to your brother, he said confidently. Riaz. Of course not, I already told you, we will stop you, she said seriously. The Cabal. If you want to die, I won't take away your pleasure, he said seriously, snapping his fingers, causing the three beasts to attack them. Quickly Riaz and Akeno rose into the air, while Isara and Kaneko launched themselves against the beasts, giving them a powerful blow making them retreat, while the third went against Asia, who remained motionless before the Cerberus attack. Riaz. Asia, she screamed in terror when she saw that her bishop would not have the chance to escape, but everyone was surprised to see how the central head of the beast was split in half. Isara. Kiba-kun said happily seeing the blonde who was in front of Asia with his sword unsheathed. Kiba. Sorry I'm late but you, he said seriously. Riaz. I'm glad you came, she said relieved. Freed, none will be able to defeat us, much less my dear Excalibur-chan, he said madly, showing a large sword. Zenobia. Would you like to try that against me? She said seriously as she left her Excalibur on the ground and stretched out her hand as a strange magic circle appeared and from it a rather large blue sword tied with chains began to appear. Al. W. How come you have the sword, Durandal? He said incredulously watching how the girl wielded the sword without any problem. Freed. I don't care what sword it is, nothing can stand against my powerful Excalibur-chan, he said seriously, going to attack the girl. Zenobia. This is not a simple sword, she said, launching a cut that broke Freed's sword without much difficulty. Freed. This is impossible, it's supposed to be the most powerful sword, he said incredulously. Zenobia. I think you are very wrong. While this was happening, the battle between the Gremory clan against Kakabeel and their pets had become tougher as Riaz and her queen tried to attack the cadre with everything, while Kaneko, Kiba and Isara desperately tried to keep the three Cerberus at bay. Riaz. Isara, could you give us a hand, she said a little tired. Isara. Of course, but you, she said as she began to run against the Cerberus, giving it a strong blow to the central head and taking advantage of it, she used it as a catapult to launch herself into the sky, where Akeno and the Redeed quickly took her by the hands and they were covered by a green aura. Riaz. Thank you for the power, she said seriously while together with her queen, they launched a powerful combined attack against Kakabeel. Akeno. That must have hurt him, she said seriously. The Cabal, hahaha, that was a good try I admit, but a useless attack after all, he said mockingly while maintaining his arrogant laugh. Riaz. TSK damn, she said very tired. Becabiel. Seriously, you thought that with it you would defeat me, how funny, the only thing you achieved was to leave the Red Empress exposed, he said mockingly. Rias. It can't be Asara, she said, upset seeing how her pawn turned his head, seeing how the Cerberus she was fighting opened its mouth ready to kill her. Asara. This is how I will die, everything ended, and I could not say goodbye to Nisama, I thought, seeing how the Cerberus got closer and closer. Everyone could see the scene on camera, most worried, while a crazy crow looked at everything with amusement. This seemed to be the end for the sekiryuutei, but when all seemed lost, a shadow appeared and stopped the beast's jaws and stopped its trajectory. Hyoudou Iseei, they shouted in disbelief, watching how the brown-haired boy stopped the Cerberus with his hands. Asara Nisama, she said incredulously. Issei. I won't let anything bad happen to you, he said seriously while his hair turned blue and began to shine with great force. Rias. That color is like God, she couldn't continue because everyone saw how Issei launched a powerful blue ray from his mouth into the Cerberus's mouth, destroying its interior and detaching the head that the brown-haired boy was holding. Something like that. Rias. That was atomic warming, she said incredulously. Issei. The dark secret. The whole place fell silent, no one moved, everyone remained static after the imposing roar that the brown-haired boy had just given, after killing one of the Cerberus with great ease, while Becabiel looked seriously at the boy who apparently for him was a simple human. Becabiel. What the heck are you? He said in a rather nervous tone of voice. Issei. Who I am is not what matters, the only thing you should know is that you will die right here, he said seriously, while showing the eyes of a reptile. Asara. Nice and speak confused. Issei. I want you to go with Rias and the others and get out of here, he said seriously. Asara. No, I won't leave you alone. I can fight too, she said nervously. Issei. I'm not asking you to leave, I'm ordering you, he said with annoyance. Becabiel. Attack, he shouted, taking advantage of the boy's distraction, while both hounds launched themselves at him. They all saw how the brown-haired boy stood there as if nothing had happened, watching as the remaining pair of Cerberus left their prey and went after him, who, having them a meter away from him, simply jumped slightly, dodging them both and then falling on top of one, but the strange thing was as if the boy weighed quite a bit since they all heard the animal's bones break from the impact. Issei. One less, he said, starting to run against the one who was left. Akeno. But how did he defeat him? She said incredulously. Rias. It seems as if his weight has increased out of nowhere, she said confused. Kaneko. What else is Senpai hiding? She said curiously. Without saying another word, the chestnut jumped onto the central head of the Cerberus, holding onto its skin and beginning to hit it with great force, each hit producing a small sound wave. Issei. This is over, he said, holding the upper part of the jaw and starting to pull to the point that he broke it off, leaving the lower half of the head. Becabiel. What kind of monster are you? He said, terrified as he saw how his three beasts were defeated as if nothing had happened. Issei. You don't want to know, he said, jumping to the throne where he was. Becabiel. Wait, we can come to a deal, he said nervously. Issei. You have nothing that interests me, he said, giving him a blow with both arms, breaking the throne, causing them both to fall. But the brown-haired boy was faster and grabbed the crow's wings and using his weight, made him crash face first into the ground. Becabiel. Madame, you'll pay for this, he said, trying to get up, but the brown-haired boy didn't waste the advantage, and holding him by the wings he lifted him up and sent him crashing against the wall of the academy. Issei. Come on little bird, I'm getting bored, he said seriously. Rias. I've never seen Issei like this before, he looks arrogant and sure of himself, it's like he acts like I couldn't continue because Zenobia spoke. Zenobia. Like a king, she said seriously, capturing the attention of the entourage. Rias. Yes, how do you know? She said confused. Zenobia. I don't know, I just guessed. While they continued their dialogue, the brown-haired boy began to run against the body who was trying to get up, and when he tried to react, the brown-haired boy jumped on top of him and began to hit him in the face repeatedly, causing him to start bleeding from his nose and mouth. Becabiel. Damn it, stop hitting me, he said angrily, using a bit of magic to free himself, rising into the air with some difficulty since a couple of his wings were damaged. Issei. What's wrong? You wouldn't unleash your stupid war. Come on, beat me and your stupid dream will come true, he said seriously. Becabiel. Hey, why don't you join me? You'll have what you want. Riches are very beautiful women, he said seriously, bothering Rias and Asara. Issei. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in those things, or not at the moment, he said seriously. Becabiel. So how about knowing the best kept secret of the three biblical factions, he said with amusement. Issei. What the hell are you talking about? He said without understanding while the crow widened his smile. Becabiel. Haha, in the last holy war the four original mass along with God lost their lives, he said madly. Rias. God is dead, she said in disbelief as Asia fainted. Zenobia. This is not possible, our Lord H, he cannot be dead, she said with a lost look as she began to cry. Bekeno. So how do miracles happen, or how does the sky stay the same? She said confused. Becabiel. I admit that Michael does a great job, but that doesn't take away from the truth, he said seriously. Issei. And how does that affect me? He said in front of him, giving him a blow to the chest that sent him to the sky, crashing against the barrier. Becabiel. How is it possible that you don't? He couldn't continue because something broke the barrier. I'm looking for Becabiel, said a serious voice. Issei. Who are you and why do you want Becabiel? He said seriously, seeing a white armor with blue gems. My name is not important, I'll just tell you that the current leader of the Fallen sent me for it, he said seriously. Issei. I see, there's this one, he said seriously, pointing at the half-dead crow. I'll see if you don't mind, I'll also take the priest and the priest, he said while he descended and lifted the 3 bodies. Greg. You're ignoring me, White, said the voice from the gauntlet. Wow, Red, I see you're awake, he said seriously. Greg. If that means we'll be facing each other soon, he said seriously. I hope to have a good fight when the time comes, said a different voice than the one that normally spoke. Asara. Me too, she said seriously while the person disappeared. Sona. Riaz, what happened? She said, arriving with her entourage. Riaz. A lot of things have happened, Sona, she said seriously. Sona. Really, she said incredulously. Riaz. Yes, why don't you start your essay? Fukushima, Japan. We can see a huge warehouse where you could see several people working on strange giant pieces that look like arms or a head, while a man supervised the work of all the people, but his attention was caught by a scientist. Scientist. Mr. President, we have good news, he said nervously. The Japan. What's happening? He said seriously. Scientist. Thanks to the world's help and continuous work, the first Jaeger could be ready in a month and a half, but we can begin testing the neural link within 2 weeks, but we must prepare the transfer orders to bring the rest of the body, he said excitedly. The Japan. How wonderful, continue the work, he said seriously. Scientist. Yes sir, he said leaving the place. The Japan. You heard guys, we'll start with the test soon, are you ready? He said seriously, seeing 2 silhouettes behind him. Yes sir, they said in unison. The Japan, I hope for your best effort, Pendergrin brothers. Events. All eyes were focused on the brunette after what happened with the Becabiel cadre, and it was no wonder Issei had just swept the floor with him and his pets without much effort, and Riaz and her group as well as the church envoys in Ovia wanted to know what he was hiding. Asara. Nai-sama, please tell me what this was all about, you are not supposed to be a supernatural being, how did you defeat Becabiel, she said confused. Issei. They wouldn't understand, he said seriously, starting to run and disappearing from everyone's sight. Asara. Wait, Nai-sama and Sama, she spoke with desperation watching her brother leave. Sona. Riaz, could you explain to me, she said confused like her entourage. Riaz. Sure, let's go to the club. 5 minutes later. Outskirts of the city. We can see the chestnut tree stopping running and stopping in the middle of a forest while looking at the moon, thinking coldly about what had just happened and the decision he had just made, but his thought stopped when he realized that something was watching or stalking him. Issei. Who's there? He said seriously, looking in different directions, seeing something moving between the trees. Brewer's slight roar caught the voice of the brown-haired boy who did not hesitate to be on guard. Issei. Come on, get out of wherever you are, he said seriously, taking a slight step forward. As soon as the brown-haired boy moved, something shot out at him, but he already saw it coming, so he decided to launch himself in the same way, but what he didn't take into account was that his opponent was faster than him. Attacking him and knocking him down while the boy's vision became clearer thanks to the moonlight revealing a girl with 2 colored hair as well as her eyes, but what stood out the most was that she had a tail and reptilian features on her hands. Issei. So you were able to take a human form, he said seriously while struggling with the girl. Brewer, the little girl tried in every possible way to make the brown-haired boy give in to the grip. Womanizer. A slight roar caught the brown-haired boy's attention as the noise came from the little girl's stomach, who at the sound only doubled over, stopping putting in any strength, while the brown-haired boy just watched as the little girl brought her hands to her stomach. Issei. You haven't eaten, he said curiously. Or the little girl tried to get ready to fight, but it seemed that the lack of food was weighing on her. Issei, without hesitation, taking advantage of the little girl's condition, used his speed to hit her on the back of the neck, knocking her unconscious, and then lifting her up, seeing how she was a little dirty and very thin, implying that she was in a bad state. Issei. Don't worry, I'll help you. 5 days later. Time has passed since the battle with Cabal. Things have calmed down slightly since what happened. Irina and Zenobia decided to return to the Vatican. After completing the mission, Sona and her entourage have been very surprised after learning that Issei was the one who defeated and humiliated Cabal, while on the other hand, the Gremory clan have been desperately searching for the brown-haired boy plus his sister, who feels great guilt for her brother's decision to leave and could not enjoy Parents' Day due to this anguish. But now Riaz has not had time to look for Issei because an extremely important meeting is approaching, in the words of her brother. In addition to the Redeed releasing the last piece of her entourage, a transvestite vampire named Gasper. Meeting room. Riaz. Okay, everything is ready, she said nervously. The Keno. Riaz, calm down, everything will be fine, don't worry, she said, trying to calm her king. Riaz. I know, but this meeting is very important, the three biblical factions will be together, everything must be perfect, she said nervously. Sirzich. Hello, Riaz, said the Mao, appearing with his queen and wife, as well as the Mao Leviathan. Riaz. Hello, Oni-sama, she said politely, as did her entourage. Sona. One-sama, I see you've arrived, she said seriously, entering with her entourage. Serafo. Hello, Sona-tan, she said very happily, bothering her sister a little. Sirzich. Come on, Serafo, don't bother your sister, he said amused as he watched two magic circles appear. I see that we are all here, said a blonde man with a rather prominent sacred power, along with Irina and Zenobia. Sirzich. Nice to have you with us, Michael, Azazel, he said seriously. Azazel. It is also a pleasure, Sirzich, because we did not take a seat to start the meeting, said a black-haired man with blonde locks. Sitting down while behind him sat an albino girl who did not stop looking at Isara. Greg. Be careful, partner, she is your rival, he said seriously in the girl's mind. Isara. So she is the White Empress, thanks Drake, I will be alert, she said seriously. Sirzich. Well, let's start the meeting, he said seriously. So with that said, the three leaders began to talk about what happened with Cabal, and implying that Azazel and the other leaders of that faction did not share the same insane desire as the thing that relieved the two leaders, beginning to talk about a possible peace treaty. But there was something that left the leaders very thoughtful, and it was who was that boy who defeated Cabal since from. But Sona, Riaz, Zenobia and the hacker Yuku said it was a brown-haired boy, and according to the White Empress that boy was not at this meeting. Azazel. Well, Miss Gremory, could you tell us what that boy's name is? He said curiously. Riaz. Well, your name is. She couldn't continue because someone came through the door, catching everyone's attention. Michael. Excuse me, who are you? He said curiously. Isara-sama, she said incredulously. Riaz. Issei, she said surprised, surprising her brother to know that she knew him. Issei, I am Godzilla. Revealing secrets. Everyone in the meeting room was more than confused by the sudden appearance of the brunette, and even more so by what he had just said, since he had just proclaimed himself as the powerful Godzilla. Sirzich. Who are you, he said confused. Issei. My name is Issei, brother of the current sekiryuutei, but you know me as Godzilla, he said seriously. Really, you are Godzilla, really, the lizard that is more than 100 meters tall, haha, of course, and I am a talking penguin, said the albino seriously. Issei. It's not my problem if you don't believe me, that's the. He couldn't continue because Riaz spoke. Riaz. So what we saw when you killed the first Cerberus was, she said with her eyes wide open. Issei. My atomic breath, he said seriously, while the rest of the Gremory clan and Zenobia looked at him in disbelief. Riaz. This can't be possible since you're Godzilla, she said incredulously. Azazel. I'd like to know that too, if you wouldn't mind telling us, he said curiously. Issei. Well, I think that sooner or later this was going to be known, and I prefer to reveal it to the supernatural world rather than to humans, he said seriously. Michael. Because us before them, he said curiously. Issei. You are more open-minded beings with qualities beyond human understanding like magic and those things. It is not difficult for you to accept the cages, he said seriously. Sirzich. You have a good point. We don't see you or the other cages as a threat, but as beings seeking their place in the world, he said seriously. Issei. That's what most of us try to do, although there are some who want to rule the world, he said seriously. Riaz. You 1 second, do you mean that the other cages are like you? She said confused. Azazel. Let's let the boy explain and then we'll ask questions, said the serious Raven. Issei. It seems very good to me. Well, most in this room do not know me, they only know my name, but the Gremory clan knows that years ago I was separated from my family and I was taken to a very far away place where they experimented on me. They only know that, now going into detail, I like 19 other children were victims of countless tortures. Pain and suffering so that the bastard who kidnapped us, Dr. Satomi Murata, he always told us that we would be the evolution of humanity, injecting us daily with a substance combined with animal or plant DNA, with something he called the gift from above, a strange blue liquid that I had never seen in my life, but every day the more substance he gave us. The more we changed both physically and mentally, we all began to change, our abilities improved surprisingly until the inevitable happened, he said coldly. Serafal. What happened? She said without taking her eyes off the brown-haired boy. Issei. One of the experiments known as Code Zero, who was only injected with his gift from above, mutated into a monstrous form, beginning to break the entire place, even killing Murata by stepping on him due to his colossal size. After that, we escaped and it was more than obvious that if he could do it, we could too, implying one thing. Hell would break loose with all of them, Friede said seriously. Surzic. So you're telling us that the cages, those imposing creatures that terrorize the world, are simply young people looking to live in peace, he said in shock. Issei. I know my story is a little crazy and hard to believe, I understand it, but couldn't continue because someone spoke. Riaz. I believe you, she said timidly. Surzic, Riaz said confused. Riaz. This explains a lot of your strange behavior, the fact that sometimes you showed parts of a reptile on your body, and what makes me more sure than anything is the fact that you listened to me when you fought the kaiju the other time, she said staring at the brown-haired boy. Issei. I admit that I was right, in case it was the best decision to use atomic breath, it was a way to finish off Zilla quickly, otherwise the battle would have lasted much longer and the city would end up in ruins, he said seriously. Bekeno. I don't understand, you tell us that you and they are humans who were turned into that, but then you killed one of them, she said confused. Issei. Yes, and I'm not going to deny it. I took Zilla's life, but he was a ruthless being. I tried more than once to talk to him, but it was useless. He simply didn't want to listen to reason and only wanted to control everything, he said seriously. Arena. And what will happen with that creature we saw the other day, she said seriously. Surzic. There's another kaiju loose in the city, he said worried about his sister. Issei. Well, she's loose, but it's not a problem, she's still a child, he said calmly. Sona. Girl, I mean she's a girl, but how do you know? She said curiously. Issei. After the battle against Cadre, when I left the place I arrived at the forest, and when I stopped to reflect on what happened she appeared and attacked me, since she was hungry and needed food, now I have fed her, and I am taking care of her, he said seriously. Azazel. In short, you have her as a pet, he said curiously. Issei. Not exactly, I simply want to achieve with her what I couldn't do with her father, he said seriously. Michael. Now I understand things better, and this explains why you were the one who defeated Cadre, he said seriously. Issei. That's right, I did it to protect my sister, that's the job of an older brother, he said while caressing his sister's head, while Surzic and Michael smiled upon hearing those words. Azazel. And what will you do now, boy? As far as I know, humans have begun a project that they say will be infallible, and that will end with you, he said seriously. Issei. The truth is that I only hope to have a peaceful life from now on, but I think that will never be possible, although I would like to make the world understand that we are not the bad guys, that the only thing we want is to have a peaceful life and achieve a healthy coexistence between them and us. Even be part of this supernatural thing, but they will never understand it, and with some problematic cages, I don't think it will be possible either, he said with his head down. Isara. But Nai-sama, why don't you look for cages that support your way of thinking? You don't have to do this alone, she said sadly. Azazel. You know, I like your way of thinking, even your crazy dream of healthy coexistence between the three worlds would be something phenomenal, and I would be willing to support you, he said seriously. Michael. I like the idea too, we would just have to talk to the other leaders and explain the situation to them, but to make this more convincing, we would need at least one more kaiju, he said thoughtfully. Issei. There are a couple, but I honestly don't know if they can support me, he said seriously. Riaz. Why not, she said curiously. Issei. One is sleeping and I don't know when she'll wake up, and the other one, I sincerely doubt he wants to support me because we don't get along, he said seriously. Sona. Seriously, the situation is too critical for you to say that. Maybe I can help you. Just try to talk to him where he is, she said curiously. Issei in a place called Skull Island. The loud explosion blew the roof off the place, leaving everyone confused, while in the central table room a circle appeared and from it came out a woman with dark skin and an extremely developed body who looked confidently at all the leaders. Fake greetings, mass. Complicated meeting. Everyone looked at the brunette woman who stood in the center of the room with an arrogant look, while the brown-haired man looked at her coldly after she interrupted him, but he noticed that she was not alone, but that they were also surrounded by hooded wizards who had them in their sights. Surzic. What have you come for, Kateria, he said seriously. Kateria. It's not obvious, I came for what is rightfully mine, false Mao Lucifer, she said seriously, looking at Seraphol with annoyance. Seraphol. I don't understand what your desire is to have the title of Mao, she said sadly. Kateria. Because you will lead the demons to mediocrity, and the proof is that you want to form an alliance with our worst enemies throughout history, she said angrily. Sirzich. You don't understand, right? We want the best for the demons, but because of people like you and your stupid ideals from before, the only thing you will cause will be the extinction of our race, he said angrily. Kateria. You are very wrong and I will show them attack, she said furiously, while all the magicians began to charge magic circles. Michael. Damn, there are too many of us, our troops won't be enough, he said seriously. Issei. I'll take care of it, he said seriously as his hair began to shine, leaving the leaders surprised. Isara. Atomic breath, she said excitedly, watching the brown-haired boy look at the sky shooting a powerful blue ray. Everyone looked very surprised as the brown-haired boy had eliminated a large number of enemies with a simple but powerful attack, while Kateria looked at him somewhat confused since she did not know who he was, and what confused her the most was the fact that he did not show himself to be more than a simple human. Kateria. Who are you? She said seriously. Issei. That doesn't matter to you, he said seriously, running towards her, giving her a punch that took the brunette by surprise, taking her out of the place. Azazel. Hey Valerie, why don't you take care of those magicians so they don't bother the boy? I said calmly. Valerie. Sure, he said, taking out his wings and taking flight, starting to attack the remaining magicians while the guards of the three leaders did so as well. Riaz. We must help Issei, she said nervously. Azazel. Do you really think he needs help? He said seriously while everyone watched as the brown-haired boy kept the woman at bay. Sirzich. It would be best to let him take care of it, he said thoughtfully. Issei. It's all you have, he said seriously as he unleashed a downward kick on the woman's head, who was slammed headfirst into the floor. Kateria. Ma damn no, I won't let a simple human make fun of me, she said in pain, while her glasses broke and blood came out of her forehead. Issei. Yes, what I said. He couldn't continue because something appeared at high speed and hit him, sending him flying against some trees. Hello little Issei, it's been a while, said an albino boy who looked at him amused. Issei. I can't believe what you're doing here, he said seriously, while his eyes became those of a reptile. Azazel. It seems that boy knows Issei, he said seriously. Isara. Do they think that boy is a kaiju? She said, worried about her brother. Riaz. If that's the case, we have to help him, she said worriedly, about to go out and help him, but was held by a black-haired man. Azazel. I will do it, I will take care of Kateria so he can concentrate only on that guy, he said, seriously taking out his wings. Issei. Tell me Glenn, or should I say Cloverfield, he said seriously while a strange silhouette appeared behind the boy. Glenn. Entertain me, Lizard, he said seriously, starting to run against the chestnut tree. Everyone saw how the albino jumped and fell hard against the brown-haired boy, who put his hands in the shape of a cross stopping the albino, but even so this was with force because a small shock wave was generated that broke part of the ground where the boy was. Issei. You and no one compares to me, he said seriously, holding the boy and sending him against a wall. Glenn. Shut up, you're nobody, and that is why I will kill you, he said angrily, starting to run, but this time using his hands, increasing his speed greatly as he attacked the brown-haired boy who could not react. Isara Issei screamed worriedly, watching as her brother began to be beaten by the albino who had a deranged face. Sirzich. No Isara, you can't do anything, this being is on a very different level than yours, he said, worriedly holding the brunette. Isara. Please IseeixHarem, let me go, I have to help my brother, I can't lose him again, she said completely upset. Sirzich. I know you care, I understand, but he couldn't continue because a noise caught his attention. Craney. Michael. And who is that? He said confused. Riaz. Is she Zilla's daughter? She said surprised, watching how the girl used her great speed and small size to attack the albino. Issei. That's how it's done, little one, he said seriously as he took advantage of the albino's distraction to grab him by the neck while the little girl walked away. Len. Ma damn Ratchif, if it weren't for that hitch, you would never be able to beat me, he said, trying to free himself from the grip. Issei. Yes, maybe you're right, but now I took advantage of the opportunity that the little girl gave me, he said seriously, beginning to turn the albino's head. Len. Ma damn, you let go, he couldn't continue because Issei broke his neck and then ripped off his head. Valerie. Wow, you really take fights seriously, she said seriously. Issei. I killed him or he killed me, he said seriously while he launched the atomic breath again, burning the albino's body. Riaz. Issei, are you okay? She said worriedly as she appeared with her entourage and Isara rushed to hug him. Isara. Nai-sama, I'm glad you're okay, she said nervously, hugging the boy tightly. Issei. Hey calm down, I'm fine, it's just a little bloody, said calmly, wiping his mouth. Zilla Jr. Greer, the little girl roared softly while looking at the brunette with annoyance. Akeno. What's wrong? She said curiously. I see. Well, she's a bit possessive, and since she doesn't know you, she doesn't trust you, so don't worry, you're friends, she said calmly, while the little girl calmed down but didn't take off her serious face. Riaz. Thanks to her you are fine, she said calmer. Issei. Of course, by the way, where is Azazel? He said curiously. Surzich. Just finished, he said, appearing next to the other leaders, while Azazel brought an unconscious brunette. Sona. And what will they do with her? She said curiously. Surzich. I think we'll send her to the prison in the underworld, he said seriously. Issei. Why don't they give him a worse punishment, he said seriously. Serafal. In what way, Issei-kun, she said curiously. Issei. Let her help Sona at school as a slave of the Citri clan and maybe give me a hand, he said calmly. Serafal. A hand for that, she said curiously. Issei. Well, the possible alliance between you has inspired me, and that's why I will try to get the help of some cages, he said seriously. Riaz. That means, she said surprised. Issei Iris Skull Island. Albion. Hey Valerie, why didn't you do that, he said seriously in the girl's mind. Valerie. I think being on this side will be more fun for the moment, she thought seriously. Albion. Are you sure? He said seriously. Valerie. Absolutely. The Ahe Skull Island. 2 weeks have passed since what happened at the faction meeting, where the 3 Bible factions decided to sign a peace treaty that could expand to more factions. Irina and Zenobia also joined the school as representatives of heaven, while the Fallen joined Valerie, which bothered her and Rainer. The fallen angel known to Asia before she was taken to Ku. Also in this period of time, Issei was able to fix things with his sister, and the Redeed clan are now waiting for the end of classes to be able to go to Skull Island, an idea that greatly bothers the brown-haired boy. Issei. I already told you that I have to go alone, he said seriously. Isara. And I already told you that we will not go with you, she said seriously. Riaz. Isara is right, we all want to help you in your search, she said calmly. Issei. But can't you think that it is very dangerous if you look for something on that island? You won't find anything. That means that it is an unexplored island where it is not known what dangers there may be, he said seriously. Sona. Except for the fact that there is a colossal being on it, I think we can handle everything else on that island, she said seriously, adjusting her glasses. Valerie. Besides, Mr. Godzilla, you are not dealing with little girls. We make our own decisions and the leaders support us, she said seriously. Rainer. Also, this is to strengthen the alliance between the factions, said the fallen angel who had just joined the group. Issei. Nobody is willing to change their mind, right? He said heavily. All. No, they said excitedly. Kateria. I still don't know why I have to go, she said with annoyance. Sona. Because my sister ordered you to, she said seriously. Issei. Well, we'll all go to Skull Island. 5 hours later. We can see everyone finally gathered at a dock on the coast of Tokyo, while Issei looked at a yacht while Riaz boarded a ship as if nothing had happened, leaving him quite confused since he thought it would be a somewhat different boat than this. Issei. Where did you get this from? He said confused. Riaz. It was something my brother gave us, we have to go up, she said calmly. Issei. Okay little one, get on the boat, he said calmly, while Zilla Jr., somewhat confused, listened to him, somewhat scared. Isara. Come on Issei, get on, she said calmly. Issei. I'll go through the water, he said calmly as he jumped into the ocean. Valerie. And now what are you doing? She said curiously. Riaz. He will guide us in his own way. 6 hours later. The boat has already entered the Pacific Ocean, being guided by Godzilla, still without knowing which direction they had to go, but they were surprised to see what was in front of them, so Riaz decided to launch a flare to get Issei's attention, who stopped. Riaz. There we have to go, she said seriously while Godzilla stood up and then nodded and entered that strange group of clouds, but he raised the ship to protect it. As soon as they entered, a strong turbulence began to hit those on the ship due to strong winds, as well as some thunder that had a strange red color that seemed to cause some damage to Issei and the ship, but this did not matter to him, and he continued forward, reaching a coast where the strange storm with lightning was no longer there. Valerie. It's here, she said seriously. Riaz. I think if this is Skull Island. Underworld Gremory Castle. We see the Mayu sitting at his desk watching Michael and Azazel through 2 holograms, the latter with a rather serious look, but that did not take away from the central topic of the conversation. Michael. All preparations for the great meeting of the factions, he said seriously. Surzich. Then the presence of Odin, Yasaka, Zeus, Shiva and the American gods are confirmed, he said seriously. Michael. If almost everyone confirmed, only Zeus is missing, he said seriously. Surzich. Azazel, something is wrong, you are very quiet, he said curiously. Azazel. I have managed to investigate more about the plan that humans have to stop the cages, he said seriously. Sirzich. And what is it about, he said curiously. Azazel robot gigantes. Skull Island. Everyone was already on Earth, Issei had already detransformed, now he was just waiting for everyone else who was changing, so he could move without any problem. The only one who was ready was Zilla Jr. who was next to his new father. Riaz. We're ready now, she said calmly as everyone appeared in similar outfits. Issei. Subtle, I like it, let's go, he said seriously as he began to walk. They began to walk slowly into the island, surprised by the strange fauna found there, not because it was different from what they had seen, but because they were biomass that were difficult to create for the type of climate, but here it seemed to be very possible. Issei. Let no one separate, we have not seen any sign of life yet, and that could be dangerous, he said seriously. Riaz. That may be true, but we have to acknowledge the fact that this place is very strange. How is it possible that in such a warm climate, I find bamboo, she said seriously. Issei. You're right, Bukateria, be careful, he shouted as everyone watched as one of the bamboo poles rose and was about to stick into the brunette. Everyone was surprised to see how a person appeared screaming out of nowhere while swinging on a vine, but they were confused when they saw how he crashed into a tree. Sona. What the hell was that? She said without understanding. Nobody move, I'll take care of it, said the guy, taking a vine and throwing himself at the bamboo leg, cutting it, but this surprised everyone when they saw a giant spider on top of them. Asper. Boo, what a big spider, he said fainting from the shock. Come on, darling, let's dance, he said, taking out a sword and jumping with the help of the trees until he reached the body and cut off the head with a quick and concise slash. Arena. I defeated him, she said incredulously. Hello visitors, what brings you to Skull Island? He said calmly, falling in front of them, seeing a black-haired boy with some marks on his eyes, but he looked like a good person. Sona. Hi, can you understand us? She said curiously, speaking slowly. I'm not stupid and I understand your language perfectly, he said seriously. Riaz. Sorry for the way I spoke to you, my friend, but we didn't know there were people on this island, she said nervously. Well, I think you're somewhat right, but my name is Angel and I'm an inhabitant of Skull Island, so who are you? He said, curious. Riaz. Oh, of course, Hyoudou, sorry, my name is Riaz Gremory, and these are my friends Akeno, Kiba, Kaneko, Asia, Isara, Zenovia, Irina, Sona, Tsubaki, Tsubasa, Momo, Saji, Ruruko, Rainer, Valerie, Issei and Zilla, she said a little more calmly. Angel. Wow, there are a lot of names. I'll try to remember them all. Well, what brings you to this island? He said calmly. Riaz. Well, we Boo couldn't continue because Issei spoke. Issei. We are looking for a gigantic being. I don't know if you know its name, but it looks like a giant gorilla, he said seriously. Angel. You're looking for King Kong. The king of Skull Island. Everyone looked at that boy they had met on Skull Island after the boy had just told them the name of that kaiju they were looking for, King Kong, but now a doubt that kept everyone quite confused was who that boy was and what the hell he was doing in that place. Riaz. So you know the being we came to find, she said surprised. Angel. Of course, a giant gorilla wouldn't be hard to miss after the time I've spent here, he said calmly. Sona. You've really been here for a long time, she said surprised. Angel. Sure, around 2.5 years surviving, he said looking around. Issei. And how did you end up here, he said quite curiously. Angel. Well, I was traveling with my family on a trip across the Pacific when a strange storm came out of nowhere and sank the boat we were traveling in. Everyone died. I was the only survivor. I went through the storm and got here. Since then, I have been surviving on my own, he said calmly while playing with his sword, while some felt sorry for his parents. Riaz. And do you think you could take us to see the Kong guy? She said a little shyly. Angel. You're joking, of course I will do it, just tell me if you try to hunt him down or something like that, he said seriously. Sona. Of course, not only did we find out about its existence and we were so interested that we wanted to come and see if it was real, she said something serious. Angel. I see, then I will do it with pleasure, but I have rules. Number 1, never question what I say. Number 2, always follow the path that I indicate, understood, he said seriously while everyone nodded and began to walk. Isara. Excuse me, Angel, how did you manage to survive so long? I mean, did you eat or something like that? She said curiously. Angel. Good question, miss, because it uses the few things that I was able to rescue from the ship, and with many problems, I was able to know what things were edible and what were not. The rest was by pure instinct. By the way, Miss Zenovia, I believe that thing is not an edible fruit and is extremely poisonous, he said seriously while everyone watched as the blue-haired girl grabbed a kind of orange. Riaz. It's impressive, and you also fight creatures like that giant spider, she said curiously. Angel. I'm not usually in the most peaceful place on the island where the calmest animals on the island are, but from time to time I have to come to other parts of the island to help some animals that are in a difficult situation, especially when those bastards come out, he said seriously. Tsubaki. Those bastards mean there's something more dangerous than that spider, she said surprised. Angel. Of course, and those poor bastards make facing the spider a piece of cake in comparison, he said seriously. Issei. And what are those things, he said seriously. Angel Los Culcrulers. Hasselgrimmery Underworld. We see the redeed quite thoughtful after the talk with the leaders of Heaven and Grigori, and it was no wonder after knowing what the humans were planning to face the cages, and he did not know if Issei could be vulnerable to those things. Rafia. I notice you are very thoughtful, what is happening? She said seriously while standing by his side. Surzich. I'm just a little worried about what Azazel said about the humans' plan to confront the cages, he said looking at the window. Rafia. You're worried about young Issei, she said curiously. Surzich. Well, the truth is that I have seen a little of what his kaiju side can do, and I know that he is strong, but not knowing what those Yugurs can do has me worried, and not only that, we are talking about humans killing some poor kids who were victims of the crazy desires of a man who ruined their lives, he said a little tired. Rafia. Yes, I know it's difficult, but we must trust that the cages will be able to tell their side of the story, she said, while hugging Surzich from behind. Surzich. You're right, we must trust Issei. 6 hours later. Skull Island. We can see the excursion group arriving at a strange lake. Well, they could see how dusk was about to fall, but that didn't matter to them when they saw a rather large creature in the lake that looked like a giant ox who seemed to be eating. Riaz. Nobody move, she said seriously while everyone stopped. Angel. Hey, what's wrong? He said curiously. Issei. You're blind and can't see, he said seriously, pointing at the ox. Angel. And it's friendly, buddy. He said, caressing the animal, who let out a light moo when he saw them and then walked away. Sona. It's not dangerous, she said incredulously. Angel. Of course not unless you attack the babies, he said calmly. Issei. You know, you look like a madman walking around the place as if nothing happened, he said sincerely. Riaz. Well, he knows the place, it's normal that he can walk around as if nothing happened and don't be disrespectful, she said seriously. Plavera 1. They will never survive, it is very dangerous during the day, said Angel playing with a skull. Skull 2. But it's worse at night, he said with another. Skull 1. Also, your guide is crazy, he said indignantly. Skull 2. What are you talking about, Angel? If he's crazy, he said affirming. Angel. Of course not, he said offended. Skull 1. Super crazy, he said seriously. Skull 3. And his paws smell, said a third one that he used on his foot. Angel, shut your bucking up, he said angrily. Skull 3. You close it, he said seriously. Angel. I'm going to give you, damn you, he said starting to fight with the skeleton. Issei. We lost him, hey, we shouldn't continue, he said seriously, while most of the entourages were laughing, even Kateria was trying not to laugh. Skull 3. So the skullcrawlers can't eat us like you think, he said scared. Angel. I already told you, skeleton, rest, we will camp here, now who wants to eat, he said calmly. Skull 3. Yomi, he said happily. Angel. You don't need calories. 9 hours later. The night passed and most were able to fall asleep, but Issei stayed up all night, making sure nothing bad happened to his friends, especially his sister, but he was surprised to see that Angel was on the branch of a tree, completely awake, taking care of everyone while he looked at the sky. At dawn, they began to walk at least a kilometer, reaching a rocky area. Angel. We're close guys, let's keep going, he said seriously. Kateria. And where exactly are we going? She said curiously. Angel. To the Kong Temple, a place where the natives who were on this island worshipped Kong, or so I think, he said seriously as they began to climb until they reached a strange structure where a giant ape-shaped head stood out. Angel. Welcome to King Kong's temple, now we have to wait for him to come, he said calmly. Riaz. Seriously, how long could it take? She said curiously. Angel. I don't know, honestly, I don't know if it's hours, days or weeks, he said seriously. Sona. Weeks, you must be joking. There is no other way to find it faster, maybe by flying. It is a giant gorilla, it would not be difficult to find it, she said seriously. Angel. He is very good at hiding, and maybe he will attract the attention of the skullcrawlers, he said seriously. Issei. That was your plan from the beginning, right? He said seriously. Angel. Hey, what are you talking about, Issei? He said, curious. Issei. Bringing us to this place, giving us illusions and in the end disappointing us and leaving here, you really had it all planned, right? He said seriously. Riaz. Issei, what are you talking about? She said confused. Issei. Why don't you answer Kong, he said seriously, giving him a punch that sent Angel flying a few kilometers away from the place where there were some trees. Isai-sama, what the hell did you do? You killed him, screamed in shock. Issei. Killing him, what a good joke, he said, jumping from the temple and falling between the trees. Issei screamed worriedly, but then everyone saw how she came out like Godzilla. Godzilla. Cry Issei roared loudly at where the black-haired man had fallen, so that everyone could see how some trees began to fall and something came out. They all saw how the imposing gorilla of some 72 meters tall came out, looking angrily at Godzilla. If God vs King. We see the two imposing cages staring at each other, while the demons and the envoys of the factions remained quite nervous at this imminent clash of these colossi, although they were still somewhat surprised by the simple fact that Angel turned out to be Kong. Zilla Jr. The little kaiju roared with annoyance, seeing Kong, who did not take his eyes off the lizard. No, little one, this is a matter that your father has to deal with, she said distressed. Godzilla. Cry Issei quickly gave a powerful roar, starting to walk against the gorilla. Kong. Cry the gorilla imitated him and began to quicken his pace. Quickly the gorilla began to use the mounds of earth to gain height and give a strong punch to Godzilla's face, managing to partially knock him down since he did not fall completely, but before Kong could react, he unleashed a punch with both hands, crashing the powerful lizard against the ground. Isai-sama, she screamed worriedly as she saw her brother fall to the ground, while Zilla desperately tried to get out of Valerie's grip to help her father. Kong. And to think that you were that madman's favorite, I thought you would give me more of a fight, he said seriously in his language, getting ready to hit the lizard again, but in a quick movement, the lizard let out a whip that sent the gorilla flying. Godzilla. That doesn't matter to me now. I came to a more important matter, he said seriously as he stood up. Kong. I don't care, he shouted seriously while beating his chest, and strange rays began to emanate from his hands. Arena. What are you doing? She said nervously. Sona. It's creating friction, she said in shock. Before continuing to speak, Kong approached and hit Godzilla in the side. Godzilla couldn't dodge it, receiving a slight but very painful shock that he felt for the second time, but this time it was from the other side, as Kong delivered a second blow. Zenobia. His rays, she said incredulously. What's wrong with them? She said confused. Zenobia. They are like those of the storm that is around the island, she said seriously, leaving everyone surprised. Godzilla. I see you've been practicing, now I can use it without remorse, he said seriously as his back began to light up. Issei, stop, you could kill him, she screamed worriedly. Godzilla. Cry, he roared, launching the powerful atomic breath that went in the direction of Kong, who remained motionless. Kong. You never learn, right? Your atomic breath means nothing to me, he said furiously, letting out a loud clap that generated a huge shock wave that made him disappear when he came into contact with the atomic breath. Bakeno. It can't be that Issei's attack was stopped, she said incredulously. Tsubaki. It was possible to generate that shock wave with his palms, creating a vacuum lacking oxygen. Even though Issei's breath is radioactive, it is made up of fire, and without oxygen, the fire cannot survive, he said seriously, leaving everyone more than shocked. Kong. What other tricks do you have, my friend? He said seriously, getting ready to hit him. Godzilla. Shut up, he roared furiously, holding Kong with his hands, slamming him against the ground and beginning to drag him, causing great destruction in his wake until finally Kong got tired, lifting him up and throwing him. I defeated him, she said curiously. Sona. I know, I don't see Kong, she said seriously, looking from the top of the mountain. Viteria. Be careful, she said seriously while pushing Arena and Zenobia, saving them from a strange creature with a skeletal shape on the head. What is that? She said terrified. Sona. I think it's a skullcrawler, she said scared as they all rose into the air with the others, while Rainer and Kateria helped Arena and Zenobia. A loud roar caught everyone's attention, turning their heads seeing a giant skullcrawler of about 60 meters who stared at Godzilla while other smaller ones surrounded the lizard. Godzilla. Here we go again, he said seriously. We must help Issei, there are too many, she said nervously, seeing about 25 skullcrawlers in addition to the giant. Valerie. Hey, stay still, she said nervously, watching the girl slipping out of her grip and falling in free fall while her clothes began to tear, falling to the ground already transformed into her kaiju form. Zilla Jr. Cry, she roared determinedly as she stood next to Godzilla. Kong. Cry, the gorilla gave a roar, appearing in the heights with a rock in his hands, crashing it against the head of the giant skullcrawler. Kong. He's mine, he said seriously, starting to fight him. Everyone saw how the colossal masters began a battle to the death while the smaller ones went against Godzilla and Zilla Jr., who did not last a second to attack them. Some did not last a stomp from Issei due to their large size, while Zilla took advantage of his great agility to fall on them with his claws. "Rias. Come on Issei, finish off those bastards," she said with emotion, supporting him from above, while the lizard prepared again with the atomic breath, launching it against the enemies, charring a large number of them. Godzilla Zilla Jr. cried. Both lizards roared loudly as they finished off all their opponents and then watched the fight between Kong and the leader of the Skullcrawlers. Kong took advantage of a small space to throw the Skullcrawler a little far away, taking a tree by removing its branches, giving it the shape of a giant stick that he used in a very creative way to hit his rival with it. "Kong. This place no longer belongs to you," he said seriously, while using the confusion of the crawler from the blow he grabbed him by the mouth, opening it with force and tearing off the top of his head, letting the lifeless body fall. "Godzilla. Kong, I need your help. I want the world of cages, humans and supernaturals to exist." He couldn't continue because Kong spoke. "Kong. Take your companions and get out of my island," he said seriously as he turned around and started walking. "Rias. What's happening? Why is he leaving?" she said without understanding. "Sona. Hey wait, I know you can understand us, we need your help to save yours," she screamed in confusion as the gorilla continued on its way while hiding among the mountains. "Rias. Issei, why did he leave?" she said confused while Godzilla just shook his head and started walking, followed by the chair in the opposite direction to Kong. "Valerie. It seems that this trip was for nothing," she said seriously. "Rias. It seems so," she said, worried about Issei as they flew over to his side on the way to the coast. Meanwhile, in another part of the island, Angel could be seen back in his normal form, leaning against a tree, somewhat tired and with some slight wounds from the battles he just had, while he was thinking about what his rival had said. "Angel. A peaceful world with humans, what nonsense, although perhaps he can do it," he said while taking his clothes and taking out a small pendant that opened, revealing a photo. "Angel. Mom, Dad. A threat to the cages." Issei and the others were ready to set sail. This time they would cross the storm by boat, since the brown-haired boy seemed a little tired after the fight against Kong and the Skullcrawlers, so now they would have it more complicated because they would not know if the ship would resist. "Issei. Are you sure you want to do it? I don't mind transforming again," he said calmly. "Rias. No, Issei, you've done enough. Now leave this to us," she said seriously. "Basara. If Naisama, you have nothing to worry about, we will use a magic barrier with the help of Valerie," she said calmly. "Valerie. Even though I have my battle pending with you, it would be best to collaborate," she said calmly. "Kateria. It's Kong," she said seriously, watching the boy come out of the jungle. "Issei. Stay here, I'll take care of it," he said seriously, jumping out of the ship. "Rias. Be careful," she said nervously. "Issei. What do you want?" he said seriously. "Angel. What you said is true," he said looking away. "Issei. And this sudden change of mind," he said seriously. "Angel. I will help you, but I need a favor," he said timidly. "Issei. What a thing," he said seriously. "Angel. I want to find my parents. Fukushima, Japan." We can see the president of the Japanese country together with a large group of scientists who were proud of what was behind them, covered by a huge curtain that did not allow the world press, who had gathered today to see the great revelation, to see. Japan. Welcome everyone. I thank you all for your presence today, the world press and the presidents of the world who are at the UN headquarters but will be able to witness this moment via phone call, he said seriously, while a screen at his side was activated, revealing the UN camera. Reporter. Excuse me, according to the information, this project will be something with which we really have a chance to defeat the cages, said a very serious reporter. Japan. That's right, the Jaeger project is an extremely effective program from which we expect great results, and that's why you're all here to show the world the pinnacle of our efforts, the light of hope that people were asking for. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the first Jaeger model, codenamed Striker Eureka, he said excitedly, dropping the curtain. Revealing an imposing robot of approximately 77 meters. Quickly, amazement invaded those present who began to take photographs and reporters who wanted to ask questions, but the most important thing was happening worldwide as all the people began to feel a sense of security, but at the same time doubt as they did not know if the Jaeger could really face the cages, but for the first time there was hope. Japan. You can ask your questions, he said calmly. Reporter. How does it work? He said curiously. Japan. Describing it would be very long and complicated to do, but its power source is electric, and to control it, it has 2 pilots that are in its head, he said without flinching. Reporter. 2 pilots, why not 1? She said curiously. Japan. Well, what happens is that we decided to create a neurological system that allows the person's movements to be synchronized with the robots, but due to the neuronal load, this can be very risky, and that's why we decided to use two people, one in charge of the right hemisphere and the other of the left, but not just anyone, only people who are completely compatible. We can't put just anyone to pilot the Jaeger, he said calmly. Reporter 2. And do you already have the current Jaeger pilots or do you still have to look for candidates, he said seriously. The Japan. I'm glad you asked me that question, and if we already have the two striker Eureka pilots who passed all the tests successfully, I present to you from Norwich, England, the brothers Arthur and LaFay Pendragon, he said calmly, while a young man of approximately 20 years old and a girl of 15 years old, both blondes with blue eyes, entered the room. Arthur. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. President, he said calmly. Reporter. Listen, there's no problem with the two of you not being the same age or the same height, he said seriously. The Japan. As I told you, they passed the tests with resounding success, so there is no problem. In addition, the two young men agreed to do this of their own free will, he said calmly. The Fae. That's right, we wish with all our hearts to be able to help our world against the kaiju threat, she said, happily causing many who looked at her to be moved by how tender she was. Reporter 3. Now what really matters is when you will perform a test to demonstrate the capabilities of the Jaeger, she said curiously. The Japan, miss, I'm so confident in our work that our test will be against the first kaiju that appears. Skull Island coast. We can see everyone setting sail back to their home, but this time someone else was going with them since Issei and Angel made an agreement to be able to achieve that level of peace that the brown-haired boy longs for. Valerie. Let's activate the barrier, we're about to enter the storm, she said seriously. Angel. It won't be necessary, he said calmly as the storm disappeared, leaving them a clear path. Zenobia. So it was true that you were the one who created the storm, she said seriously. Angel. There was just a little electricity emanating around the island, it's nothing special, he said nonchalantly. Riaz. And now what's next, Issei, she said nervously. Issei. I don't know, honestly, I know we have to teach the leaders about the existence of other kaiju, that's what Angel is for, but I think we should start looking for other cages and try to get them to change their perspective to help us, but I don't know where to find them, he said frustrated. Asara. But Nai-sama, don't you remember what they were like when they were in that place? She said curiously. Issei. Yes, I remember them, but it's possible that they've changed their appearances, he said seriously. Angel. Maybe there is a chance, he said seriously. Sona. Young Angel, what are you talking about? She said curiously. Angel. On one occasion, the bastard who turned us into this one day placed a strange tracking chip on us. Maybe Issei doesn't remember it, since most of them fell asleep due to a gas. I pretended to do it, but I could see what he was doing, he said seriously. Issei. You're serious, he said surprised. Angel. Of course, but we must find a way to activate the chips, and we will look for them, but there is a small problem, he said seriously, while Issei opened his eyes in terror. Riaz. What a thing, she said confused. Angel. We must return to his laboratory. A problem or a solution? We see how the boat with the two cages deviated from its course heading to New Zealand, where the laboratory of the madman who had turned them into those things was located, although the simple idea of returning made the brown-haired boy more nervous, since he had no plans to return to that hell. Riaz. Guys, I have already informed my brother of the decision we have made, and he said not to worry, that he would take care of everything at home, she said calmly. Issei. Gee, great, he said trying to hide it. Asara. Nai-sama, are you okay, she said curiously. Issei. Yes, of course I'm perfect, he said as he left and stood in front of the ship. Valerie. He's not okay, she said seriously as she stood next to her rival. Asara. I know, he said something sad while watching a black-haired boy approach him. Angel. Hey, I know you don't like this idea, but you know we have to do it, he said thoughtfully. Issei. I know, but you are difficult, he said while squeezing his hands. Angel. You still have nightmares, he said curiously. Issei. Almost not, since I found my sister they stopped, but the memories still remain, and you, he said sadly. Angel. I stopped having them when I got to the island, but we have to leave those bad memories behind and concentrate on the present. You know, now you have your sister, something you've longed for since we met, and it seems that she loves you very much. Focus on that, don't look for a girlfriend. Concentrate on your present and look to the future, he said calmly while looking at the sea that at that point seemed infinite. Issei. It was what you did, you stopped thinking about it, he said curiously. Angel. More or less, since I still have the memory of my parents and well, I spend most of my time trying to help the animals on the island, although sometimes I am overcome by the idea that my parents forgot about me, and that's okay, you know, they had to continue their lives, they don't have to tie their life to someone who for them is possibly already dead, he said calmly. Issei. So if your parents forgot about you, you would be okay with it, he said, surprised. Angel? Well, I have to accept that they have already suffered for me. I think that the fact that they were able to be happy is more than enough for me, he said with a big smile. Issei. I think I'll follow your advice and focus on my future. Couldn't continue because Sona spoke. Sona. Land in sight, she said seriously. Riaz. If we get to New Zealand now we have to look for that damn laboratory, she said seriously. Issei. It won't be that complicated, he said seriously. Viteria. Because you say so, she said seriously. Issei. Because we left a trail of destruction when we escaped and I know that his laboratory is not far from the coast, he said seriously. Rainer. Well, that helps us a lot, she said enthusiastically. Angel. Are you ready? He said curiously. Issei. If we go back to that hell. Unknown location. We can see a place in ruins and with great darkness that was not total due to the little light that filtered through some gaps, making it seem that in the center of the place, there was a boy sitting on a strange kind of throne. So the humans are ready to fight. How funny, he said seriously while he started to think. What are we going to do? We must know how capable those things are, right? Said the same boy on the throne but with a different voice. Yes, we are going to fight against that robot, he said, changing again, but this one was more lunatic. Do shut up, said the boy with two voices. Are you having fun, said a boy in front of him. Oh Jack, how good to see you. I need you to do a very important mission, he said seriously. Jack, speak Victor, what do you want? He said seriously. I want you to go attack the coast of New York within a week, he said seriously. Jack. And why don't you go? I think you would cause more destruction, he said seriously. Come on, you know I would do it with pleasure, but I'm not yet at full power to face that idiot Issei, he said seriously. Jack. Sure, then you want me to go so he can come and finish me off while you just lay here like a coward, he said seriously. I am not a coward. I could tear Godzilla to pieces if I wanted, said the third voice, completely upset. Jack. Calm down, old man, I'll do it, but you better have a plan in case he shows up, he said seriously, turning around and leaving the place. Let's see how strong those Jaegers are. New Zealand, unknown location. We see the entire group arriving at a place similar to a city, but that was completely abandoned, but that mattered little to them until they reached a building shaped like a destroyed dome, entering seeing how the place was a complete disaster. Valerie. We're sure we can find something here, she said curiously. Angel? Maybe, he said seriously. Asara. This place gives me chills, she said nervously. Issei, imagine me, he said nervously. Riaz. What is this? She said, seeing several cubicles with a door made of bars. Angel. Our rooms, he said seriously as he approached one and looked at some marks, implying that it was his. Arena. In which of these did they have you? Issei, are you okay? She said, confused like the others while they watched a brunette look at a strange bed with broken shackles. Issei remained in a trance, staring at the bed as memories of his and his companions' tortures came to mind with the incessant screams that echoed in his head, but he was brought out of the trance by pressing a device on the floor that projected a holographic image of Dr. Murata. Recording. Hello, I am Dr. Satomi Murata, and Issei. Cry. The brown-haired boy in fear launched a powerful atomic breath, leaving everyone in shock. Angel. Hey, calm down, old man, you're going to hurt someone, he said, while holding the brown-haired boy tightly, who stopped his attack while trembling. Issei. He's dead, he said nervously. Angel. Yes, he is dead, it's just a recording, he said, calming the boy. Recording. If you are seeing this, it is most likely that I am dead, and I do not doubt it. I have done horrible things in order to achieve my dream, but that does not matter anymore. Now you will wonder why I recorded this. Well, easily my greatest creations will possibly get out of control. Ordinary boys were transformed into monsters with different qualities, and it will not take long to discover their true potential and end up killing me, and when that happens all this will get out of control and the world will become hell, but take my precautions, there is a contingency plan. To stop these creatures, and the solution is themselves. Only one of them has the ability to defeat another, and to be more specific, there is a boy with enough power to create balance, he said seriously. Riaz. But who is it, she said nervously. Recording. He is a young man with his DNA mixed with that of a reptile. His name is Hyoudou Iseei, or as I call him, Godzilla. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.